So here we are, folks. We're back, and we've got Martin Knight here, who is a very famous author, aren't you, Martin?
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
But you've got a good CV, Martin. Do you know what I mean? The books you've done are excellent.
So many football books, crime books, everything.
Yeah, I try and find new areas.
Yeah. So you've ended up doing Ronnie Field's book,
Yeah.
and what was the motivation for that, and why did you choose to do that?
Well, we nearly got together about 20 years earlier. I was in a club, working men's club, with Dell, and Dell was an admirer of a book I wrote called Battersea Girl, which is about my grandma's 100-year life in Battersea. A lot of poverty in that, obviously. And he wanted me to meet Ron, but I think Ron had just come out. He always thought Ron had a good story and someone should do it.
He did. He always said it.
And I went to meet you, Ron. If you remember, you don't remember, obviously, but 20 years ago. And you I think, were more focused on living your life, not, talking about it.
Out a few
but then about 2 years ago, we went over the club that Ron uses, and with a few friends of ours, and we were sitting round a table, and you and I, Ron, were on the edge of it. We couldn't really compete with all of what was going on.
That's right,
we
yeah.
started chatting, and he started telling me a few things. I thought, blimey, this bloke's got a really good story. And then he did a podcast with Joe Smith, a mutual friend of ours.
Gypsy Joe.
Gypsy Joe. And I listened to the podcast. I thought, first of all, I thought this bloke's got a good story. I thought the stuff that he was talking about, and I made a few inquiries. I went to see Dave. He gave him a really good name. Various other people did. I mean, I'd heard of Ron, but I didn't know much about him. I was looking for a different book to do, something different. And I have sort of flirted with true crime, but I haven't done anything really. I mean, this era that Ron comes from, I think you said it, or you said it, he's the last man standing, or one of the last men standing. And I think, I think we have a nostalgia for that era.
Yes.
Whether you're a law-abiding citizen or in the criminal underworld, we have a nostalgia for it because crime, as you three touched on, has changed so much. Yeah. People feel nostalgic about when it was almost safe in some ways. I know
it was respected in a lot of ways in this generation. Do you know what I mean? Because
mugging was unheard of.
And they'd come from a very hard background. Yeah. Whatever money they got, they put it into their families to do things and look after each other. And if one of them got stuck, the other one jumped up and tried to help him, no matter what. Do you know what I mean? And there was a code that they lived by, which I'm afraid has been lost completely now with the influx of the drug dealing. It changed crime completely, didn't it?
So Ronnie, what was it about Martin that made you trust him to do your book?
Talking to him.
Yeah.
Just told him.
Do you think you have a good eye to check someone out?
I didn't have to.
No.
He's a friend of Dell's, wasn't he? So
that's enough.
If Dell was a friend of his, and they were friends, then there was no.
See, that's an old school thing, isn't it? That goes back to that generation.
You trust your friends' friends.
Yeah.
And was it difficult for you to open up to Martin about all of that, your childhood and everything else?
The childhood thing was quite difficult, but once I started, I found I couldn't stop.
Right.
I think Ron's underplayed how bad his childhood was. His grandmother was an absolute demon, and she not only did she physically abuse them, she mentally abused them. And one story that really struck me in the book, I thought it really sad, was he's at home one day and the grandma's, the nan or whatever, called him over. Said, I've got some bad news for you. He said, what's that? Yeah. His mum was ill all her life. Right. She was in and out of hospital. She said, your mum's died in hospital. Right. So he didn't know what to do, and he wanted to cry, but if he cried it would make her worse, so he just went and stood in a corner. Right. And then later on, one of his brothers came home and said, mum's died. And he said, no, she hasn't. She's coming home in a minute. But she pretended his mum had died just to hurt him,
Really?
It was that sort of torture that was going on there.
That's the sort of woman she was.
Really? That's terrible.
And a big old lump and all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you've underplayed in this interview a bit the poverty. You had to nick stuff to eat, didn't you? And
people wouldn't understand that nowadays, would they?
No,
that's the trouble.
Sort of beyond comprehension. Things have changed so
much.
We
used to go around the back of the shops in Cheam Village, greengrocers, bakers, and all that, and go in the greengrocers, get a sack of taters, and then go next door into the drying rooms, what they used to call them, where all the bread was cooling down, nick a couple of loaves. That fed us for 3 or 4 days. And there was a lot of us.
Well, you didn't get no help off the social then, did you? There was no, not like this today.
All his brothers and sisters went into care. Ron was the only one that didn't go into care, wasn't it?
Me and Sis didn't go into care.
Oh, right.
Dalla and Pat. Dalla got adopted out of our family.
All the boys went into care.
All the boys went into care.
And was that because you was a bit more of a stronger character, Ron, or you were just lucky that you didn't?
I was just lucky.
He was the youngest. I think he got.
I was just lucky.
His brothers, from what I gather, were treated worse than he was. You know.
All my brothers were treated worse.
Martin,
100 times worse than me.
Tell us some of the stories that stand out for you in
the book?
Yeah.
Well, the funniest story.
Yeah, let's have a funny one.
Let's lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
The funniest story, and the way he told me it, when after Ronnie came out, the other Ronnie Kray, was in Broadmoor, and Ronnie and Joe used to go and visit him regularly, with a lot of other people. And Ronnie would get in there and he would ask you to buy him 200 fags, wouldn't he? Yeah. It's one of the first things, like an entry fee.
Always 200.
And they had one meeting. At the end of the meeting, Ronald Craze leant over and tucked a bit of paper into his top pocket there. Said, "Don't read it until you're on the road home." So they're driving home. Ron's got it out of his pocket, and there's 12 names there, a mixture of legal people, politicians, TV stars, journalists,
villains.
Yeah, villains, mainly villains. Yeah, and. So he's looking at it, and Ron's already told the joke, but I'm going to tell it again because it's so good. He's looking at it and he said to Joe, "What is this?" Joe said, "Well, it's a list of people he wants you to kill." So Ron said,
"I do it every day."
Ron said, "All of them?" He said, "Yeah, all of them." He said, "Is he mad?" He said, "Well, he is in Broadmoor." And then what happened was Ron was fretting over it. He thought, a bit much, 12 people or whatever. So he wasn't looking forward to going back. He had no intention of doing it.
If it had been about 8 or 9, Ron,
he might have done it. Yeah.
Would you have sort of done that?
Found
time. he was a little bit, nervous about going back when he hadn't done it, and you're thinking, what am I going to say to him? And Ron said, "That list, Ronnie, I haven't seen anything in the papers. Have you done any yet?" He said, "Well, he's not had a chance yet." So he'd gone, "Well, throw it away." He said, "Because I've got another one." and he replaced it with another one.
I had 3 of them in the end.
Yeah. I don't suppose you remember who was on the list.
No, he can't say that.
Can't say that.
I do remember, but I
can't say.
In fact, one day when we was coming off a visit, we was going on a visit, because in Broadmoor they can have visits all day long. One of the geezers on the list was just coming out and he went, "He's in good form today." Oh, that's handy. And I thought, if you only knew.
You're on list 3, number 12.
He wanted you top last week.
Can you enlighten us about taking over from Bruce Reynolds as the old librarian?
Well, the job just come up, and a few of the boys said, "Ron, how about doing the library?" Because it is a bit of it's a good job, especially if you're a reader like me. You get a chance at the books when they first come out. That's all it was. I just took over
Inherited it.
Inherited the job of Bruce Reynolds. What a good story that is. Do you know what I mean?
I'm glad it weren't a train robbery. There you are.
What do you think about the streets today in London? Do you think it's like so different from when you were?
It's all
not comparison. There's no comparison on it.
Drugs have ruined everything, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Even though I did get nicked for the biggest drug thing ever, which was a complete load of rubbish. I don't really believe in drugs. I don't take drugs myself. I never have done.
I mean, if he was such a big drug dealer, why didn't they pursue the onward chain after him and Charlie got banged up?
Exactly, yeah.
Why did they spin me house? They never even spun me house.
And where was all the money from the previous drug dealer?
Exactly.
Yeah. You couldn't have showed too much money because you didn't have fun.
No, he wouldn't have had it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, was there ever a time, Ron? Like after you've done a job and you'd had the money and all that, was there ever a time when you thought, I don't fancy it no more, I've had enough now?
No, not that time, not when you're counting a load of money.
Well, you did do one that you pulled off.
I pulled
you
off,
tried
yeah.
to pull off it, and then the guy asked you to take him the next day, and you all got nicked.
Well, that was the airport, Gatwick Airport. That was £10 million worth of diamonds. And Johnny Ford, he's dead now, so I can say his name. He said to me, I've got a bit of work. I was in Parkhurst with him and Maidstone and it, and he came and see me. And he said, I've got a bit of work. I said, well, I ain't really doing it anymore. He said you can't turn this one down. He said, it's £10 million worth of diamonds in a private car. I thought, well, that does sound thank you, God bless you. That's John, by the way.
John.
And I thought £10 million, that's going to work out about 4 million, that's $1 million each anyway, so I thought, I'll have a look. And then it kept going on for day after day, so I said to John, I'm putting off for this now. I said, this ain't never going to happen. Ain't never going to happen. So I pulled off and John said to me, would you carry on running us down to the airport? I what, every day? Till it happens. I said, it ain't going to happen. He said, but just take us down a few times. So I drove him down that morning and dropped him off. I was sitting in the car park, waiting for him to, if it ever happened. It happened and I'd come on. They said they'd give me a nice drink out of it. And I was just sitting there waiting to take him home and all of a sudden, every police car in England was there. The sirens going and popping up out from everywhere with guns and God knows what. Geezer tapped on my window with her Hector and Kosh. He said, wind the window down. I went, you wind it down. I'm keeping my hands on my head and I kept shouting out, I'm unarmed, I'm unarmed. People were coming out of the hotel now, but this was in the hotel car park. And they were all coming out, having a look, and they were trying to keep me away. I'm unarmed, I was going, I knew he wanted to shoot me. I could see it. I don't know if he had the bottle to, but I think he wanted to.
So I'm sure this man is worthy of a film with that story. Do you know what I mean? When
They've asked me to play Ron.
But is the book out on Amazon and
Is it
everything?
going to be a comedy?
It's going to be in the supermarkets, in the bookstores, obviously on Amazon.
So Martin, tell us why they should go out and buy this book.
It's a book about a man's life, a man born just after the war, who had terrible hardship, economic hardship and family hardship, and it's about how he drifted into crime and how he became addicted to crime really, and how he spent a lot of his time in prison. So it's a salutary tale as well as an exciting tale.
And we are talking about the only other gentleman in this category is Freddie Foreman that's alive today. So these, Ronnie and Fred are the two last gentlemen of that era that we should be respecting and celebrating. Do you know what I mean? They have got a genuine story to tell, which can't be ever done again.
Sirens
They keep
are
coming.
outside.
I like to
I think they're just driving by and let us know.
Well, thank you very much, Ronnie and Martin, and of course
You're very
Brendan.
welcome. Very welcome.
We do urge everybody to go out and buy the book, don't we, Brendan?
100%. You will not regret it.
You might if you don't
You
buy
will
it.
regret it. You regret it if you don't buy it.
Go on, you'll pay a visit. Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you
folks.
so much, Ron, for today.
Well done.
You're welcome,
And
mate.
you, Martin.
Thank you.
Always.